English is the world's most powerful language today, and it is spoken almost everywhere across the globe. But here's a surprising fact that not many people realize. Among all the countries in Asia, one nation stands out as having some of the best English speakers in the region, and that country is the Philippines. Now you might wonder how this small island nation in Southeast Asia managed to speak English so well, while other bigger and wealthier countries in Asia still struggle to master it. This is where the story becomes fascinating, because the Philippines didn't just learn English as a foreign language. The Filipinos live and breathe it in their daily lives, and this has made them one of the best English-speaking nations, not just in Asia, but in the world. When you compare the Philippines to other Asian countries like China, Japan, Korea, or even Thailand, the difference in English fluency is clear. But why is this the case? And why does the Philippines have such a strong advantage in English that even surprises many Westerners? To understand this, we need to look at the history, culture, education system, media, and even the mindset of Filipinos, and how all of these factors shaped their relationship with English. Let's start with history, because history always leaves a strong mark on language. The Philippines was under Spanish rule for more than 300 years, but in the late 1800s, it came under American control, and that completely changed the direction of the nation. Unlike Spain, which focused more on religion, the Americans focused on education and governance. When they took over the Philippines in 1898, they introduced a new education system based on the American model. And guess what language they used in schools? It was English. American teachers, known as the Thomasites, were brought into the country to teach Filipino children subjects like math, science, and literature, all in English. This immediately set the Philippines apart from other Asian nations, because while most countries in Asia were sticking to their native tongues or trying to adapt to European influences, the Philippines was already being trained to think, study, and communicate in English from an early age. This American influence didn't just stay in schools, it spread to government institutions, businesses, and even the media. Newspapers started publishing in English. Radio programs broadcasted in English, and eventually television also followed the same path. So, while other Asian countries were still treating English as a foreign language to be learned only for business or tourism, the Philippines was embedding English into the very core of its national life. This foundation explains why Filipinos became naturally comfortable with English, and why generations later they are still reaping the benefits. Another major reason the Philippines speaks better English than most of Asia is its education system. English is one of the official languages of the country alongside Filipino, and that means from the very start, children in the Philippines are exposed to English in their schools. Textbooks, exams, and even classroom discussions are often in English, so for a Filipino student, English isn't just another subject, it's a tool for learning everything else. For example, science is taught in English, mathematics is taught in English, even computer classes are in English. This constant exposure builds not only grammar and vocabulary, but also confidence and fluency. Imagine being a kid in the Philippines, growing up with English in school, then going home and watching cartoons or TV shows that are also in English, and then reading signs in malls and restaurants also in English. It becomes part of your daily rhythm, and by the time you grow up, you are practically bilingual without even realizing it. This is something very few Asian countries can say. Take China or Japan, for example. Both countries are global economic giants, but their English proficiency levels are much lower. Why? Because in those countries, English is usually treated as a subject you only need to pass exams. Students memorize grammar rules or vocabulary, but rarely practice actual communication. So even after years of studying English, many still find it hard to speak confidently or naturally in conversations. The Philippines, however, doesn't have this problem, because Filipinos use English in real-life situations almost every day. Another interesting factor is the influence of media and pop culture in the Philippines. Hollywood movies, American music, and Western TV shows are extremely popular, and unlike in many Asian countries where foreign media is dubbed into the local language in the Philippines, they are shown in the original English with subtitles. This constant exposure to authentic spoken English helps Filipinos not only understand, but also mimic accents, slang, and cultural expressions. So if you talk to a Filipino, you might be surprised to find out that their English sounds natural and not overly robotic or bookish. This media influence keeps English alive, fresh, and relatable for the younger generation. But perhaps the most unique thing about the Philippines and English is the attitude of its people. Filipinos are not shy about using English in daily life. In fact, code switching between Filipino and English is extremely common in conversations. This is known locally as Taglish, a mix of Tagalog and English, and while some might think this would harm their fluency, it actually makes them even more flexible and confident because it removes the fear of making mistakes. For many Asians, speaking English comes with pressure. They are afraid of grammar errors or accents. But in the Philippines, English is just another way to communicate, so people use it freely and openly, whether it's perfect or not. This practical attitude makes Filipinos much more comfortable with the language and gives them an edge in fluency, confidence, and adaptability. Let's not forget the economic side of things as well. The Philippines has become one of the top destinations in the world for outsourcing and business process outsourcing, or BPO. Companies like call centers thrive in the Philippines because of the strong English skills of its people. Multinational companies prefer hiring Filipinos for customer service, IT support, and other jobs that require English communication, and this further motivates young people to master the language because it directly connects to better job opportunities. In fact, the BPO industry has created millions of jobs in the Philippines, and much of it is thanks to their ability to speak English better than most of their Asian neighbors. When you put all these factors together, history, education, culture, media, and economics, you start to see the big picture. The Philippines doesn't just treat English as a subject, it lives with English as a part of its identity. This explains why surveys and studies often rank the Philippines as one of the best English-speaking nations in Asia, sometimes even placing them second only to Singapore, which also has a unique English-speaking background. But let's dive a little deeper and compare the Philippines with some of its neighbors to see the contrast. Take Japan, for example. Despite being one of the most advanced economies in the world, English proficiency in Japan remains low. The Japanese education system focuses heavily on grammar translation and test-taking, rather than real communication. As a result, many Japanese can read and write English, but struggle to speak fluently. Then there's South Korea, another economic powerhouse. While Korean students also spend years studying English, many of them still feel uncomfortable in conversations because of the same exam-focused education and lack of real-life practice. China, which is the largest country in Asia by population, also faces similar issues with millions learning English in schools, but very few reaching high fluency levels because, again, the focus is on memorization, not communication. Thailand and Vietnam also rank low in English proficiency compared to the Philippines. In these countries, English is seen more as a foreign necessity rather than a daily tool of life. The Philippines, on the other hand, has managed to turn English into an everyday language, and that's the real difference. But here's the twist. The Philippines' strength in English is not just about language. It's also about culture. Filipinos are naturally warm, hospitable, and social. They love communicating, connecting, and sharing with others, and English has become a powerful bridge for them to connect with the rest of the world. Whether it's through overseas workers in the Middle East or domestic helpers in Hong Kong or nurses in the United States, millions of Filipinos use English as their key to opportunities abroad. And they do it so well that many foreigners are often shocked at how fluent and natural their English sounds. This cultural openness combined with their language skills is one of the reasons why Filipinos are highly sought after in many industries worldwide, from healthcare to education to business services. But here's the part that really surprises many people sometimes. Foreigners expect to hear broken English when they visit the Philippines, but instead, they often find that Filipinos can carry on a conversation smoothly, crack jokes in English, understand slang, and even adopt Western humor. This shocks many tourists and makes the Philippines stand out even more in Asia, because this is not something you easily find in countries like China, Japan, or Korea. So when you ask the question why the Philippines speaks better English than most of Asia, the answer is clear. It's because of a perfect combination of history, education, exposure, culture, and attitude that made English not just a foreign skill, but a second native tongue of the nation.